Now, for a brand that built and sold the world's first production car and pioneered loads of the tech and safety kit that we now take for granted, Mercedes has been, I guess, a bit late to the electric car party. Woo! What are you doing? Come on, you'll be late. Get ready for the party. It was yesterday. Oh.
While Jaguar and Audi both introduced electric cars designed from the ground up to be battery-powered, the Mercedes EQC was effectively a petrol-powered SUV converted to run on electric, which felt like a bit of a half effort.
When we reviewed the EQC last year, we were a little underwhelmed. For the money, we said you could do a lot better. So why are we here again? Well, one of our biggest criticisms of the EQC was its value for money. And now, a year on, you can pick up a used example with a handful of miles on the clock for up to £20,000 less than the original price. And that, we reckon, makes the EQC worth a second look. But before I get started, just a quick reminder to please subscribe to the channel and switch those notifications on. Come on, it's that little red button just down there. You know you want to. If you've been looking at electric cars, you will know that they usually fall into two camps. One that looks like something from a science fiction film, and others, like this, that just look like everything else on the road. And that is no bad thing. After all, not everyone wants to drive around in the four-wheeled equivalent of a Hawaiian shirt. Now, if you're after a car that lets the neighbours know you've finally got their kids off your hand and your Tesco club card is the hardest working thing in your wallet, then I reckon this car, the EQC, does the job. These wheels are really lovely, and I do appreciate the Ginny-friendly running boards that help people of average height like myself get inside. And if we move around to the back, you'll see the EQC has got all the gadgets you expect on a luxury SUV, like a powered tailgate. The boot's okay-ish for the size. The Jaguar I-Pace does come with more space. And this loading lip is a little bit high if you're trying to get something heavy into the boot. But I really like these levers on the side that allow you to tumble the seats down without having to sort of faff around pulling things. It's a very smart feature.
What's not so good is storage elsewhere. Yes, despite having a bonnet that's big enough to land a helicopter on, the EQC doesn't have a frunk. Which means your cables have to go in the boot, which means you have to take your stuff out of the boot to get your cables in and then move it all back again when you need to put the cables back. It's not very 2021 Mercedes.
For me, where the EQC holds most of its appeal is in here, the place you spend most of your time. Mercedes still knows how to make a car interior feel so special, and you can just feel and incidentally smell the quality. The seats are lovely, the materials are excellent, wherever you look. It just feels luxurious and special and comfortable. I absolutely love these doors. Look at all the different textures and surfaces. They're a work of art.
Although this car is based on the petrol and diesel GLC model, the EQC does have a different dashboard layout, and I really like the panoramic screen that gives you a huge amount of information without making you feel as though you're driving Piccadilly Circus.
Now, in terms of space, it's fine, it's actually pretty good. But as with all electric car conversions, there are a few missed opportunities. You've still got this walloping great transmission tunnel that runs the length of the car, which means the middle passenger in the back has a leg on either side or sits like that. It's not the most comfortable or graceful way to sit. And again, it just feels a bit old-fashioned.
Look, it's not a deal breaker, but equally it's not something you'll find in a Jaguar I-Pace or an Audi e-tron because they have flat floors. They were built to be electric.
Okay, let's talk about charging. So the EQC comes with an 80 kilowatt hour battery pack which can be recharged at a maximum of 110 kilowatts. Now that means that you can charge from 10 to 80% on a rapid charger in around 40 minutes, which is pretty good. On a home wall box, expect to go from empty to full in around 12 hours. And incidentally, I love how easy it is to access the charging ports.
One big oversight is the lack of a charging timer. There is no way to program when you charge, so you can take advantage of cheaper electricity rates at night. So you're going to have to budget for a more expensive smart home wall box.
Now, like all big Mercedes, the EQC is just fantastically smooth and very, very quiet. I'd say this is one of the most refined electric cars I've ever driven. There's absolutely no wind noise, and you can only just hear the faintest rumble from the tyres. Probably a little more so on this version with its bigger wheels. If you're looking for a relaxing motorway cruiser that you just eat up the miles in glorious silence and comfort, then this car pretty much ticks all the boxes. Just don't expect to travel too far in it, because the not so good news is that you won't get as far as you might hope on a full battery. Now, the official WLTP range of the EQC is 255 miles, which does sound pretty good, doesn't it? Nope, on a wet February morning, you're going to be looking at, well, 200 miles at best.
Which isn't great when you consider that the latest generation of family SUVs from the likes of VW, Audi and Hyundai can comfortably exceed that. Another thing to be aware of is that the early models of EQC can only charge at up to 7 kilowatts on an AC connector. Mercedes did fit a faster 11 kilowatt AC charger from November 2020, so if that's a key consideration, make sure you check the build date first.
Now, the EQC has a motor at the front and the back that together produce 400 brake horsepower. And the brains of the car work out how much power to send to each end. The power deliverer is always super smooth. You've also got that fantastic electric car punch of acceleration that you can never tire of. This car may be over 2 tons, but it has a 0 to 62 time of just 5 seconds, so it's no layabout. So where's the catch? Because there is one. Well, despite that crazy acceleration, the EQC isn't a car that likes to feel rushed. Mercedes have definitely prioritised comfort over agility when they set up the suspension on this car, because on a twisty bit of road, it's actually a bit of a handful. You're always really aware of the weight moving around in the corners. The steering just doesn't have the sharpness or the accuracy that you'd find in a Jaguar I-Pace or an Audi e-tron.
As for the ride quality, it's good, but like the rest of the driving experience, it's not quite perfect. The sheer weight of the EQC steamrollers a lot of bumps into submission, but you do occasionally hit a bump that sends a shockwave through your backside, and nobody likes that.
Now, if you've ever owned a big Mercedes in the past, you will know that the bills can be on the hefty side. These are generally reliable pieces of kit, but even routine service items like brakes or dampers can cost a small fortune. And that's definitely worth factoring in if you're looking at buying one.
Obviously, being electric, there are far fewer things to replace or go wrong, which is great news for your bank balance. However, for reasons only Mercedes know, the service intervals for the EQC are set at just 15,000 miles or every year. Expect to pay around £300 for a minor service and £450 for a full service at an authorised Mercedes dealer. Now, that's less than a petrol or diesel, but not as cheap as other electric cars. Whilst we're on the subject of servicing, make sure you check what service status the car has. A fair few EQCs were ordered with a 3-year servicing pack that transfers with the car. Now, you'll still need to visit the dealership every year, but you won't have to pay for any routine spanner work. And we need to talk about the wheels again. Those 21 inches may be eye-catching, but the tyres are pricey and they cost a lot to repair if you grind them against a curb. So make sure they're in good condition before you buy. As for reliability, well, we wouldn't expect the EQC to give you any sleepless nights. The battery pack is guaranteed for 8 years or 100,000 miles, whilst the rest of the car is covered by a 3-year unlimited warranty. Even the oldest examples will still have more than a year to run at the moment, so buying one is pretty risk-free on the reliability front.
The Mercedes EQC. It's almost a really good electric car. It does most things very well, but there are just a few areas where it doesn't quite hit the mark. That said, if you're looking for a luxurious, lazy cruiser and can live with a more modest range, it is a pretty class act as a second-hand buy.
For more electrifying.com used reviews, do check out our used section right here on our YouTube channel. And of course, please don't forget to subscribe and switch those notifications on.